One of the problems you face when you're shooting in a studio on a white cyclorama, or if you're using white seamless paper at home or maybe at a different location, is quite honestly, the shots can be very boring. In today's video, I'm going to show you a filter inside of Nik Color EFEX PRO 4, something that very simply and very easily adds a pop of color and style to your photographs taken in a studio. Hi, my name is William Beem. I'm a photographer just like you. Why don't I go ahead and show you what we're talking about inside. All right, so this is a photo I took in a studio. It's on a cyclorama, which is basically a white floor and a white wall, and there's a little bit of curve back inside of, where the wall meets the floor. And the idea is that you can go ahead and light up the wall, light up everything else. But the problem in studios, if you look down at the floor over here, you see that it's typically, unless they've just recently painted it, it's just kind of filthy and dirty. So you can do a lot of work there with cloning and stamping and erasing and trying to get that stuff taken up. So that's one of the problems. You can also see in the top corner, there's my softbox. I shoot it a little bit wide on shots like this where I know they're going to be swirling around and doing some movement because I know I can always crop in later. So what I would look for here is where am I going to crop and where am I going to do any clone and stamping? So this line over here is a little crack where the cyclorama comes down, but I'm not worried about that. I'm going to crop in some on this side. I'm certainly going to crop off this light modifier up here. And this is a one light portrait, which means you can tell I've got a lot of shadow in the background over here. I'm not really afraid of that, but on this kind of environment, it means you get kind of a dull gray wall. And I like the directional light. I like some shadow over here. And I think this would be very good if I wanted to cut her out and put her into something else. But what if I just want to make a quick and dirty portrait out of this where I can offset the color that she has without something quite so bland? Well, that's where I would go into Nik Color EFEX PRO and look at the Photo Stylizer tool. So let's go ahead and get started with that. So I'll come over here to Photo, Edit In, and I'm going to come down here to Color EFEX PRO 4. The first thing it's going to do is ask me if I want to edit this. If you've made some changes in Lightroom, please go ahead, make sure you edit with a Lightroom adjustments. The file format, you can use TIFF, PSD, and JPEG. I can tell you, don't choose PSD because Nik Color EFEX PRO 4 does not recognize that. So I'm going to leave this as a TIFF. And that's because I want more data than I would get as a JPEG. As far as the color space, I'm fine with that because I'm going to be putting this up on the web. You could change this over here and get all your color detail in ProPhoto RGB, but for the purpose of the demo, I'm just going to leave it right here. And I'm not going to change any of these other settings. So it'll take a moment for Lightroom Classic to prepare the file and export it, and then it will launch straight into Nik Color EFEX PRO 4. Okay, here we are. And by default, on my system, it's loaded the dynamic skin softener. You can take this little eyedropper over here, just kind of put it on, let's say the cheek. It will measure that and then it'll apply the skin color, the reach, the details, and so forth. Honestly, I'm not terribly worried about it with this photo, and I'm not going to take that off. I'm just going to go ahead and collapse this. What I want to do is add another filter. So if I come over here on the left in Filter Library, I'm looking for something specific, and I usually find it under Portrait, and that is Photo Stylizer. And what this does, you can see when I clicked on it, it's already got a tone. Basically, it is mixing colors, and that's kind of what it does best. It'll start off, you've got some choices over here: Veritone, Cool Ice, Cool Silver, Copper, and Russet, I guess if you want to turn your subject into a potato. So most of these will also have a style that goes with it. So if I select at the top here, let's say Veritone, you'll pull this down, and I don't know what these little things are supposed to be, but as you pull them down, you can see how the color changes on the photograph. And then you can find something that is complementary to your subject. Don't worry about what it's doing to her skin tone. I'll show you how you can change that as well. If you don't find one that you like on the first try, go on to the next one. And this one, I kind of want a blue color or something cool because she's got this red dress, and I'm looking at trying to tone the color of the wall and the floor. So I'll come over here to the style, take a look, and see if any of these really suit my purpose. And that's possible. Let's come down to this is Cool Silver. And I think now we might be getting a little bit closer to what I'm looking for. And I'm kind of choosing between these two. I think, actually, I'm going to start with this one over here because I kind of want a blue. Now, there's a couple of problems that I face right off the bat. It's really changed her skin tone and it's kind of muted the color on the dress. But that is where these little control points come into place. You see there's positive and negative. So if I put on a negative, it takes away the effect. If I put on a positive, it localizes it to a certain area. I want to leave it on the wall. So there's two strategies I could use. I could use positive ones for the wall and the floor where I want it and leave her alone. So let's try that just to show you how it looks. Let's say if I click over here, you notice the color comes back to her. And this little thing over here is kind of like your mask. And it's looking at the color where that control point is and say, only affect these colors. So you kind of want to put that where it should be. So it's not affecting the red in her dress or her skin tone. All right, so I'm clicking and holding down so you can see the area within this circle. If I want to make something with the same settings, I can come over here to the side, drop down this arrow on control points, and you can see I've got this selected. This little button down here will allow me to duplicate this control point. So I'll click that, and you see that I've got another one. So I can just go over here, click, and pick this up. And now I'm kind of working on this other side, and I may want to duplicate that one more time and bring that down to the floor area. And so now I've got a background over here that kind of brings this color in. For this one on the bottom, I might want to make that one a little bit stronger now. Just bring up the strength. And I've kind of really deepened that blue. Now let's go and look at how we can do this the other way. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of these control points. So for each one, I can either click this dot and hit my delete key, or I can select it here and hit this trash can, and that gets rid of it. So now we're back to basically a global filter. Another way I could look at this is to use the negative control point. So let's say I drop this right on her face, and suddenly I've got color in her face coming back, and I'll just kind of minimize this to the area where it is. Now let's do another one, and we're going to drop it here on the red of her dress. And you click this little thing to kind of expand the masking area. So I'm getting that red in more places. I want to add another negative one for her pants because we want that yellow to come out. And sometimes you may need to drag a few more in different areas just to kind of bring out all of the color that you're looking at and missing. So there's quite a lot of color there that we didn't have showing up because of the filter. And keep in mind, they're looking at a specific color. So this color down here is kind of a different color red. You might end up dropping a few more control points to just make sure that you're getting all the different tones and shades of the dress or whatever other material that you're trying to work with. I think it's actually easier to go ahead and work with the plus control points because, for example, let's take a look at her hair. I don't want that blue tint in her hair, but I'm ending up with a lot of control points over here. It doesn't really matter how many you get because you're trying to achieve a purpose. And if that's what you have to do is put a bunch of negative ones on there, it's very simple, it's fast, it's easy. My preference, I think, is actually to do the localized adjustment with the positive ones, but sometimes you just need to take away rather than add to. And I think that kind of gives us a nice little before and after. So we started off with a very bland, very dull photograph like this. And we've added just a little pop of color. So we've got some color contrast between our background and, the subject and what she has. Now, I would still do more to this photograph. I like this for getting the pop of color to kind of stylize it. We can do more things, though. Let me highlight all of this. And I just want to show you some of the different colors. And notice that it's giving me a warning because I'm really trying to delete all of them. And let's take a look at, instead of cool silver, let's go down to copper. This one doesn't have a stylize or style button underneath it with different opposites. So you can just basically have a slider to kind of decide how you want that copper look to go. And all of these have a strength slider. So if it's a bit too much or not enough, you can adjust the strength. You can also adjust how it affects the shadows and highlights if you want to open up the shadows or, tone down some of the highlights. You've got a lot of interesting controls here. Which colors you choose really depends on your taste and your subject. So this one with russet, we've got a number of different offsets and colors here, none of which I think are appropriate for this particular subject and the colors that she has, but I just kind of want to give you a quick look at what you can do here. One last thing to mention is you have an opacity slider, so you can always bring that back down, and maybe you'll want to use this just a little bit and maybe in a selective area. So you have global adjustments up here. You can make them local adjustments with the control points for either positive or negative. You can open the shadows or close them. You can open the highlights or shut them down. You can apply a strength filter, and you can work with the opacity. This is a very easy to use tool that just takes a bland photo and puts a pop of color in there and gives it a bit more life. Again, this is with Color Efex Pro 4. I'll have a link in the description below. That's an affiliate link. So if you buy this, I will get a little small commission. But there's a lot of wonderful stuff inside of Color Efex Pro. And if you buy the Nik Collection, it has other programs that come with it. There's Silver Efex Pro, which is one of the best black and white programs I've ever seen. Vivesa is really good for managing the exposure. Again, it works with control points just like this one does. There are HDR and denoise and other programs inside of the Nik Collection. It's rather inexpensive for everything that you get. I think take a look at it, get the trial if you want to, but I'll have a link below and hope you enjoy this. So thank you very much for joining me here today. I hope you liked this. If you did, please go ahead, click the like button. That tells YouTube if I did something right. They'll share this with more people, helps the channel grow, and you'll have my ever-loving gratitude. Thanks so much. I'll see you again in the next video.